So Yogini, where are you based out of right now?
So I am in Pune, India.
Awesome, awesome, very good.
And you all are across across countries, how everyone is.
Yeah. So I'm in Texas, Meducar's in California, and then Ashutosh is also in India, right? Yeah, very good.
I'm in Texas as well.
Yeah, and then Catherine's also in Texas. Yeah. All right, so we can go ahead and get started if that works with everybody. All right, sounds good. Well, again, welcome everybody. We're really excited to have you here. It means a lot for y'all to be in attendance. Like I've been saying, we have a great talk in store for y'all and really appreciate y'all being here. Also very thankful for our guest, Yogini, being here. She's a great co-founder and past developer. And so we're really excited to hear more about your journey and kind of learn from some of your experiences as you've kind of gone along and done a lot of great work from what I've seen so far. So, and then for everybody who's in attendance, if y'all ever have any questions, feel free to throw them in our chat or this Q&A function as well. I'll be keeping an eye on that, and I'll make sure to work your questions in as we go. So, but yeah, to start, I think I'd like to go ahead and start talking a little bit about you and some of your background and how you kind of got started, and to kind of understand how you really got on this path to becoming a co-founder. So the first question I really have is kind of how you got into technology and programming, and what really brought you into that world and what kept you interested.
Yeah, so well, I studied engineering. So that time only, when I was studying the programming languages or something, that I started feeling that yes, this is something which I really enjoys, because so that time we used to do just hello world C programs, sum of two numbers and all, but it still used to fascinate that okay, if I write 10 lines of code, I can actually get the answers of something. So I think that is where I started having interest in programming. But then again, the first thing was I started learning PHP. That was the first thing I learned as a programming. Then in PHP, there used to be a script where you write and you can send email through that script, right? That contact me form. And that was the woohoo moment for me that yes, I can do something out of it, right? Then with that, I started doing HTML, CSS. Back then, I started getting some very basic programming or freelancing works where I used to develop websites and all. So that really started my journey as a developer, or as a person that yes, I'm really interested in this. Let's explore the space more. But with that, I was also pursuing my post graduation. So I thought that okay, let's start one thing, that rather than directly jumping into development, I have free time after my college, so why not teach students? So I started teaching students different programming languages, and then by creating small side projects, that is how my journey of becoming a developer started.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually saw that PureList had kind of started as one of those side projects. And one of the questions I have was, what are some of those side projects that you did kind of early on in your career that kind of sparked you to keep going and really pushing yourself? Because yeah, it seems like those side projects really did a lot for you to help.
Yeah, absolutely. So well, because I was again from a teaching background, it was very difficult for me to crack the first job as a developer, right? So that is where the importance of side projects started coming in, because I had to prove myself. I had to make a proof of work so that I can show people that I am capable of doing the development job. I can capable of working as a developer. And that is how it started. I initially built very small projects like maybe calculator app, or interest rate calculators and to-do lists and all those famous projects. So even when we started PureList, the first draft or the first version of PureList was making a resume builder. with no backend. It will be just a fancy front end project where I will be just user can enter the details and they will be able to download their PDF resume. That was the very first draft of PureList. And when we started discussing the idea of that, that is how it got evolved. And we are right now where we are. Like, it's a product now altogether.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think turning side projects into something like PureList, I think that's what it's all about. So it's great to see that y'all are doing that. But I saw that you have been in a few different developer positions before, and now having this experience of being a co-founder and kind of also having that experience as a developer, what are some of the things that you really enjoyed or didn't enjoy about the development aspect of your jobs?
So I think one thing which I now realize that what was missing was understanding the product side or understanding the business side of a product. That whenever I used to do a development, it used to be very task oriented thing that, okay, if this Jira task is assigned to me, my final aim is just finishing up that task without even understanding what is the importance of that whole thing to the product. What is the mindset that should goes in, right? And I think when I started getting that, I as a co-founder who is building the product, it improved my development a lot. So now I understand that, okay, that is the thing which is missing earlier. Second thing which I was always scared of was trying out different things. So as a developer, I remember restricting myself a lot because not having that confidence or faith in me that yes, I will be able to deliver. But as a co-founder, when you are not given much choices, when there is a situation that you have to do this, then I think you become more flexible and more adaptive to different technologies and working on so many different things. So those were the things which were really missing. And even now, people who are working with me or the interns, I always tell them that try to get that product mindset. Talk to your seniors, talk to the leadership team, and understand that what is that X factor they are looking for, because that will make you definitely a better developer.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's great to hear, especially that's actually one of the problems we're trying to solve as a company, is kind of giving people a little bit more understanding of what the importance is of what they're working on. So yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, because I'm sure that co-founding knowledge is definitely huge with development. So but yeah, so now that we've kind of gotten a little bit of your background, I'd love to talk a little bit more about now your product that you have co-founded. And from what I know, you've actually started to launch it and really get users onto it as well. So do you mind telling us a little bit more in your own words, kind of what PureList is, what the problem is y'all are trying to solve, and just kind of give a good overview?
Sure. So I think, so as I said that when PureList actually started, it was just a resume builder. So the story behind that was I was searching for a job, and I was very active apart from doing the job. I was active. I had a good GitHub contributions. I had good side projects. I was very active in technical writing. I used to post my blogs, and I started feeling that, okay, having a resume or adding that to LinkedIn is not really sufficient or not really giving me the exposure which is required. When we talk to people, when we talk to other folks, developers, they were facing the same issues. Even designers were facing the same issues because designers didn't know how to create their own websites or portfolios. So there we thought that yes, this is a gap, because when we all have shifted our work cultures in the past 2 years, but the way we hire or the way we build our brand is still the age old thing from the professional networking. So that is where we thought the idea of PureList came in, that it is a community led professional networking platform for people in tech. So we are making it as a niche that yes, we can only serve to people in tech because we know how to showcase their proof of work. We know if there is a developer who also designs, who also write, who have a newsletter, who have a YouTube channel, then all those faceted of his personalities, how they can be showcased on a single profile. So that is how the idea of PureList started. And right now we are building a good network around it. And so far it's like people are loving it. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I was looking a little bit at it before this, and yeah, just the way that y'all kind of put everything in a very readable format so that you can look at GitHub and your articles that you've written and projects you've worked on. Yeah, it looks great to me. So yeah, especially coming from LinkedIn and kind of it being pretty cookie cutter and really kind of hard to really understand what people are building or what people are writing. And it's more post-oriented, I think. Yeah, from what I've seen from y'all, it looks great. So congrats on that. It's a great platform. But yeah, so now that you've kind of started this company, what have been some of the challenges with maybe either getting people onto the platform or starting to build things out? Yeah, I know building from the ground up is always difficult, but hearing that it came from a side project, I'm kind of interested if that helped a lot or if there was a lot of work that obviously there was a lot of work that had to be done, but kind of what those challenges were.
Right. So I think it's a very good question. I have so much to talk about on this, but to keep it short, I think the very beginning. So building it as a side project helped us a lot because me and my co-founder both are married. So we haven't thought that, okay, leaving both of our jobs and jumping into a startup won't be really a good idea. Second, you need the conviction that whether your idea is really a good fit or it is just a good side project idea, right? So first thing was setting up the unrealistic goals for ourselves. So we started writing our code in April, and we thought that first version of PureList would go out within a month, which was a blunder from ourselves because it took us 4 months to build the first MVP, right? It led us to frustration that yes, we are not able to deliver good in a time, but actually it was some unrealistic expectations from ourselves. So I learned it very hard way that how to make good estimates and how to keep your expectations correct and realistic from yourself and from your capacities. So that was one thing. I struggled a lot initially because even though it started as a side project, working as a full-time job, 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and then in the evenings and weekends, work on your side project. So it was really draining activity for us. But then I think the response from the user were something which gave us the conviction that yes, this is no more a side project and can be considered as a full product or as a startup. So I think if there are a couple of challenges I would definitely talk about was burdening ourselves a lot. The pattern of work we used to do led us to the burnout, which I definitely never suggest to some people. But I think initially when you have to build and when you don't have a conviction, at least in the initial days, that is also required. So those were the points where we struggled a lot. But once we get the conviction, once we started getting good feedback, we got the angel investment that gave us the conviction that yes, now we can leave our job. Now this is the thing which we can do full time. And that helped us a lot. Community building was something which was also very, very keen part of building a product. But because we were aware of that, yes, this is a community oriented product, this is a social oriented product, we need people around this. So when we started writing the first line of a code, we also started building the community. So I think we learned a lot through that journey. But yeah, those were the pretty challenges that we face.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, it's I know funding is always very difficult, and also with the community building, I think it's definitely there's a lot to do always. So no, it's great to hear that y'all kind of gotten that on the runway and everything. So kind of going back to the funding aspect, I know within our own community we have a lot of developers who are interested in kind of taking their ideas and bringing them to market and getting funding for them. Can you talk a little bit more about what that process was like for you? And yeah, again, some of the challenges and some of the things maybe you didn't expect that came along with that.
Right. So as a builders, or as a developer, as a product, we were making product, we did not realize that there are so many industry specific jargons that we have to learn. Because for the first time when somebody said me, what is your TAM, what is your PMF, I did not know what is the full form of that. I literally used to Google in the meeting that what does this phrase means, right? So that we learned from a couple of meetings after attending couple of meetings. We did not have a very long term thinking about our product, that so we were very happy building it at that moment, but initially we did not have that vision that what it will be 5 years down the line. So I think the couple of months when we started talking to different people were the learnings to learn that, okay, what is the vision we are thinking for this product. But from fundraising perspective, I think we were very lucky that we got inbound links always. So because we were very active on the social media, we were very much promoting ourselves. We were very much outspoken about what we are building. So because we were building in public, I think the eyes were on us and so many people reached out. We got reached out by so many amazing leaders in the industry. We got to talk with them. We got to understand different point of views from them. So initial 2 to 3 months totally went into understanding the jargons or understanding the how the industry works in the funding side or in the other side. But yeah, I think that was the most crucial part that we have to go through.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I think, yeah, funding sounds like a very challenging, yeah, jargon heavy kind of, yeah, event. So yeah, very congratulations again on that. It's a huge achievement. So one of the big terms that we use around DevRev is product-led growth. And it's one of the kind of ideas that are really help us build our product, and really we're trying to use that to really help grow our community and grow our product. And kind of hearing about you building out in the open, it sounds very similar.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more about how building out in the open, maybe how people either reached out to you, or what that kind of feedback was like, and how being a product-led growth kind of company helped you?
I think that is the best way to build something, and that too, if you are building for if you are a B2C company, then you should build in public. Why? Because so first thing is, because we were building in public, we literally do, most of the times it's like we couldn't find the bug in our app, but our users find it and they are so kind that they report us personally, DMing us that guys, we found this bug, please fix it. So I think that relationship you build with your users is something really amazing, and that helps you grow your product. Second, I think people can relate, people start relating with you. They don't feel, so I always have this philosophy that people relate to people, not to the companies, right? So so if you remove Steve Jobs from Apple, you don't really think that, okay, what is the essence of it, right? So we have always thought it that way, that if we are connected to the people, if we are connected to our users, they will be sharing their feedbacks upfront, and that is how we will be able to grow. Second, everybody is very empathetic to you when you are open about your things. So it's really impossible to build a company or build a product or develop something for that matter without accepting the failures, right? So if you are building in public and you openly share your failures as well, then more people can relate to you, more people become empathetic, and they give you the solutions. So I know getting stuck into so many problems whose solution we did not know, but I think our users came and helped us to improve those things. So these are the things which helped us a lot, even while as a growth for a product, and to promote our product as well, to build a community around it as well. So I would definitely recommend everybody, if someone is creating any software or anything which is for end users, do build in public, do share your success, your failures, your thoughts with everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I very much agree. So I'm glad to hear you say that, for sure. Actually, one of the articles that I've read that you've written kind of was talking about y'all's transition from React to NextJS. And hearing about that was really interesting to me, because it sounds like an overhaul like that is obviously it must have been very, very intensive and very difficult. But I think making changes like that in the long run is almost a no-brainer because of how much it can help you. So I was wondering kind of what that process looked like for y'all. And along with that, if there was any other big hurdles that y'all have had to face so far.
Okay, so there were two things. So once we started building PureList, and when we started, it was really like just a side project. So it was built within friends. So me, Akash, and one more person was developing it, one of our friend, very close friend. We started it, it was 4-5 months, and then the third person, that guy, has to leave because he had some other very important commitments and he couldn't continue. So I think that was the setback. That was not a setback, but at least we were into the challenging part. That okay, what to do next, because we haven't thought about this situation. So that was one. Second, so when we started building, so we had this in mind that okay, there are two things to do. One is the technology, and second is the idea. So because we are already experimenting with the idea, technology wise, let's play with our strength. So that's why we started it with the technologies that we know very well without experimenting a lot into that. So that is how the first version went out. But when we started realizing that no, we made a blunder selecting the technologies, we have to correct it. It was, I think, one of the toughest decisions we made, because being a team of 3 people, you have to be very cautious about where you are spending your time with. And if you are doing a migration, that means you will be pausing new feature development for at least a month or so. So pausing the feature development, that too at a very, very early stage, understanding that this might we might lose our users. We took the decision, we planned it for 1 month, but again, as I said earlier, that we were very much generous with our deadlines, that we kept it very strict and we couldn't match it. So that 30 days estimate went into 45 days, and it created a lot of pressure on us. But eventually the difference which I see right now is much more drastic and much more helpful for us. And now I feel that it's glad we took that decision and glad we took that leap of faith that yes, let's pause the development, but if that is right, we have to do it, then we have to do it. So yeah, it was one of the most difficult decisions so far, I would say, in the product development we had to.
Yeah, no, that sounds like quite the hurdle to get over, but yeah, it definitely sounds like it paid off. So yeah, well done with that. We have a question from the chat by Anon. How do you handle content moderation on PureList currently? And yeah, it sounds like there's a very difficult point that after you reach a certain critical mass of users and posts and things like that, that it's hard to keep that content quality up. And yeah, that's a great question. So
yeah. So right now, if you see, so we are always promoting it this way, that it's not a content feed, it's a context feed. So whenever you have to post something on PureList, you have to first share that what is the context of that post. You cannot randomly post anything. You cannot post an image without any context. So these are some guidelines or some rules that we are following right now. So far we are experimenting a lot with scroll, but I think that is some feature which we really don't want to grow a lot. It is good that keeping things restricted. So I have seen that people are most creative on Twitter, where if you see that there are most restrictions on Twitter, right? You have to fit in those 280 characters. So that was our philosophy, or that was our thought process, that if we add some restrictions, some good restrictions, then that will be more relevant to everybody. And that is why we made that content feed to context feed. So I think if you are a PureList user, you know that before posting anything, you have to set up the context. And I think that will help us moderate the feed. And again, I mean, we want to have those scaling problems where things will go out of our hand and we have to think through again. So yeah, waiting for that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think hearing the quality over quantity kind of argument, I think that's a great way to go. So yeah, that sounds great. One other question, what have been, I know we've talked kind of a lot about being a co-founder and then a lot about being a developer. What was that kind of transition like from being a developer to being a co-founder, and like what were some of the challenges and experiences that you went through that have kind of shaped where you are now?
Right. So before being a co-founder in my previous company, I used to work as an IC, an individual contributor. So during that time, so as a developer, what we only focus on that, yes, this first thing is this should work. Second thing is my code should be clean. I should be following up so many good practices. If it is messier, I should go and refactor it. It should be 100% good. I have to write unit test cases. It should be, so basically we want it to be very good, perfect, and everything which is like scalable, readable, etc. But I think when I transitioned from developer to co-founder, I started understanding that yes, it's okay if your code is not clean, but if you are not delivering, then it's not okay, right? So that was the first learning which I got, that you cannot build a perfect software. There will be bugs, part of your software, just like features are. So you have to accept that yes, your code might get buggy, your code might not solve the edge cases, but if it is working, then that is the one thing which you want. Second, I understood was fail quickly. So again, being a developer, you have that perfectionism in your mind that I want to everything to work 100% correct. But I think if you fail quickly, you can experiment a lot. So that is what we did. Even with the scroll, we recently introduced the context feed. Otherwise, it wasn't that you cannot even, you weren't able to post directly. So those are the things that we started doing, that yes, if we experiment, if we keep experimenting, then that is how you create a good product. But as a developer, I always used to hesitate experimenting a lot or shipping very quickly, because I always wanted things to work 100% correct with all the edge cases and all. So these were the different changes which I felt as me working as a developer versus me working as a co-founder. And also understanding the business side. So whenever you are a developer, you just think about your feature, that yes, this is a feature which I want to build. But when you start working as a co-founder, you have that zoomed out view, that what is the impact of this feature. So if it is not a good impact, then you keep things a little fuzzy, and that is still okay. But if particular feature will have a major impact, then you start thinking it that way or scoping it that way. So these are my learnings.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Another great question from Anon. If you had to start a company again, now having this experience of founding PureList, what would you do differently?
That's a very tough one for me, because I really don't think so that I would do something very differently, apart from the maybe I would haven't started with React.js and all. I would have definitely started with Next.js itself. But apart from that, I don't think anything we would have done differently. Why? Because we failed a lot. We had our bad times, but those were the times, or those are the moments from which we got to learn a lot. So even though for a short-sighted thing, those were really something bad things happening with us. But now if I look back, the learnings which I got from that made my next decisions better. So I really don't think, apart from the maybe technology choices, I would have done anything better.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, and it sounds like y'all are enjoying that success. So it sounds like you wouldn't really need to do too much different at the same time. So no, that's great. So in your role right now at PureList, are you still doing a lot of coding, or are you more on the business side, or what's that distribution look like for you now?
I still do coding a lot, because that is something. So there are couple of things behind this. One is we still operate with 4-people team. So when we say that it's a 4-people team, that means I should contribute, and I really love coding. So that's why I cannot separate it from my day-to-day work. So that is something which I really enjoy, which calms me down. So yes, I think 50% of my day goes into coding. But apart from that 50%, I also very much extensively work on marketing side. I work on content creation, I work on promotion, I work on in talking to users, I work in talking to investors, I work in talking to different leadership people to understand the product as well. So I think so many different things you have to fit in when you are a co-founder, but still coding goes into my day-to-day job always. That is always a first priority.
That's awesome. Let's see. We have another question in the chat, or from the Q&A, from Nikhil, who's a part of DevRev. And the question is around the comment on quality over quantity in terms of code. Are the experiments you mentioned, do they take a hit when you are not backed by some test framework? Like, does it make it a lot more challenging to kind of go through these difficulties, or not difficulties, but experiments? And what kind of testing frameworks and all that do you use?
Right. So I think the testing pipeline, we still are working on improving it. So I think the processes aren't yet set 100%, which should be there in a team, but we are constantly improving on it. So for quantity versus quality and conducting different experiments in your product, we heavily rely on feature flags. So because we know that if something breaks, if something goes out of our hand, then we can turn off the flag, we can do the processing, we can do our work, we can fix things up, and then turn on the flag again and make it available for the public. So recently this happened with us. I think before the product hunt launch, we did the product hunt integration, and somehow something went wrong, and we couldn't find the fix within 5-10 minutes of deployment. So within 10 minutes, we had to take down that feature. We had to fix the problems first, and then we had to deploy again. So I think this happens a lot. I wouldn't say that this doesn't happen, because if you are experimenting a lot, at times you have to compromise on code quality a little. But one thing we always take care of is, even though it's a very early stage product, but we still, out of our 1 month period, we still spend at least 15 to 20% of our effort into tech debt, so that we should not make a pile of it, and we should still keep our quality of a code maintained. So these are the 2-3 things that we always take care of. So testing wise, the processes aren't set yet, but yeah, we do have a basic unit test in place, and we are still working on improving that daily.
Awesome. Yeah, I know having frameworks like that are definitely a lot to set up, but they can do so much for you. So what are the, actually going back to the React to NextJS, what are some of the things that you can do now with NextJS that you weren't able to with React? And yeah, some of those technical advantages that you've observed.
I think a lot. I mean, shifting to NextJS helped us a lot, because so earlier version of PureList was built in Postgres, written in Spring. But then we started facing that, okay, then hiring becomes a problem, because then you have to hire 2-3 different types of developers, right? So that was one of the reasons that we thought of shifting to NextJS, because we wanted to shift our API from server to serverless as well. So now if you see, it's a monolithic architecture where you can, even our backend is integrated into the same application, which is written in JavaScript. So which is helping us hiring a lot, because we just have to look for a person who knows JavaScript very well, right? So that is one thing. Second is, there is no dependency on people for each other. So there is a front-end person who is working on something, who wants some different response from the API. She herself can go and change it. You don't have to like be dependent on some other person to do it for you. So that was the second advantage. I think another one was, of course, the server-side rendering. So for plain React, there were some libraries, but again, everybody suggested that this would be a patching work and not something which will make a robust product. Also, we wanted to experiment with the combination of client-side and server-side rendering into the single component. So those were the things which were very helpful when we moved to Next.js. And of course, the SEO, we started seeing a very exponential growth in our SEO when we moved to Next.js, just because we were able to support the server-side rendering. So I think these were the very good benefits that we got while with that migration.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I was, from reading the article, it sounded like there was quite a lot that Next.js can do. So yeah, thank you for answering that. So another question from chat, Pradeep is asking, how or can a developer working on different parts of a project, how can somebody like that become an owner and really flesh out a full project and become an owner?
I think you just have to start building. That will what make you enable shipping the product, right? So before PureList, I used to work, whatever I have worked in backend was I used to write APIs in Golang and was built in AWS. Right now, I'm writing APIs in Node.js, and that is deployed into some other server. So whatever I am doing right now, the part of my experience didn't had earlier, I didn't had any experience of doing that. So even I was an individual contributor. Before that, I used to work on different projects with a very small unit of that project. But once you start building something from scratch, you get the idea and understanding of what is the responsibility of something, or how can you think through, how can you take better decisions for something. So, and that you can only learn by building things. So I think start with one small side project. With that, you will learn a lot, and that will help you build a product.
Yeah, that's awesome. Another question from chat that just popped up from Raul. He really liked the idea of experimenting with things if something is not clear. But one of the questions that he has is, what is the biggest hurdle that you've had to face when you're building PureList?
I think two things I would say. One is prioritizing. Because when you work as a developer, there is somebody else setting up a goal for you. You're not mostly into that decision making, that which feature should go on first and which feature should not. So prioritizing with something which we at times learned hard way. At times we were lucky enough that we got the good results. So that is one thing which we struggled a lot into, that which thing to prioritize. Second is, of course, technology decisions, that you don't understand few things very well initially, and then you, after doing it or after spending good amount of time on it, you understand that no, the decision we have made is wrong and we might have to roll back. So that was again second. And I would say taking decisions with half of the information. So whenever you are building something, you don't know what will be the reaction of that. You don't know what will happen. Most of the things are your either assumptions or your predictions. So taking a decision based on your gut feelings, making a bet on your decision is something which I think we have faced that a lot, though we enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, so we always follow this one thing that, okay, let's take a decision and then prove it right. So it will never be a right decision. So yeah, I think those were the things which we faced challenge in, but we moved on from that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So I'm a part of the growth team at DevRev, and one of the questions I have, and what we have, is what has been your growth strategy so far, and what have been some of your learnings from that? Because yeah, I'm starting to learn. It's a big challenge to kind of get people all together and keep people engaged. So and I'm sure that's a big aspect of a lot of different startups. So what has been your experience so far, and what have you learned from it?
I would say be genuine. So I've seen so many people who are either building personal brand, or who are promoting some companies, or who are working in DevRev. Some of them do try to fake. So we have this inner feeling that we should only be showcasing or showing off good things with people, uh, which is mostly not the case. So when we started building PureList, we always used to share everything with people. That we decided to ship it this day, but we couldn't make it. These were the problems which we faced. So literally used to click the pictures of Red Bull that yes, today we are going, it's a coding night. So we will be coding whole night. In the morning, I used to tweet that yes, it was decided to be a coding night, but we couldn't really code whole night. So whatever the things are, being transparent with everyone, make them relate to you, make them create a good and really pure connection. So once that starts having, then I think people start having interest in you, having interest in what you're doing, what you're building. So that is one thing which helped us a lot, because initially, because of that, we started making some really good connections, which eventually helped us in our journey in the product, and also creating that networking effect, that they telling more people and more people joining us. So that was one part. Second part was being really and genuinely helpful. So I remember I randomly go on call with people. We randomly try to help them out, whatever way possible. So I think that reciprocates, and that helps you, that gets you back. So those were the couple of things which we really did and which helped us a lot. When I see right now, looking back, we have tremendous connection. We have made tremendous connections through Twitter, which I don't think was possible. So yeah, those were the things which helped us building a community, very strong community around PureList.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think the transparency aspect is really interesting to me, because I've definitely seen a few companies do that in the past, but it sounds like you've had great success with that. So yeah, awesome job there. So I guess from now that you have your initial base of users, what are some of the ideas that you have in place to kind of keep them engaged? And now that you have them in your network, kind of making sure that they're still happy and either using your platform or coming to events and things like that. Yeah, what is some of your strategy surrounding that?
So again, we are experimenting a lot. We initially started having a Twitter space called PureList Town Hall, where we used to invite some good people, some good content creators and all. This was, I think, early December or end of the December last year, but we couldn't really finish it off. We just took 2 episodes of it and then we couldn't continue it. So we scraped that idea. Then we started working on our blog. We again, I think, experimented with 3 platforms to host our blogs, and finally now settled on Hashnode. So we started creating good content or good blog post that helped community really becoming engaged. We also started inviting guest writers. So because we are giving them shout out, they become very fortunate, because so even they are now contributing to it. They are suggesting different ideas to us about the blog post, about the content creation. So that also kept them engaged. And I think recently we started with the series called PureList Mindset, where we are calling different industry leaders, whether it is from development, whether it is from product design, startups, to have these conversations, have these good sessions. So these are the things which we have started doing, apart from what we build as a product. Then also hosting offline meetups, randomly going on Twitter spaces, talking to people, trying to help them out. So these are the all activities that we take care of apart from building PureList.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of really strengthening that connection as you go with social media and different posts like that. I think that's great. That's definitely something we're going to be looking into in the future, and kind of keep building off of what we're doing. So it's great to hear that that's working out for y'all. Where do you kind of see, now that you've founded or helped co-found PureList, and y'all have this user base now, and you're on this great trajectory, Where do you kind of see your personal journey and all of that? Where do you see that taking you and PureList in the next months and years?
That's a tough one. Well, I would definitely, one thing which I really want is having a very stable and robust product. Because so PureList is like have gone through a lot as a technology, and I think what I would love to see is having it getting more and more stable. So I think first goal would be getting it out from beta and making it as a non-beta PureList stable product. So that is one thing which we are really working on. And of course, 2 years down the line, I would love to see people sharing their PureList profile instead of their LinkedIn profile. So that is the high end goal which I always keep in my mind.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's a great goal, and it sounds like y'all are right on the right track. So yeah, but I think yeah, that's oh, we have one more question in the chat, and then yeah, I think we can, if there's no other questions, I think we can start wrapping things up. But the question is from Pradeep: should we have to do market research before building the product? Based on the results, do you suggest to approach venture funding organizations? They have many feasible ideas, and should they have to make PowerPoint presentations or demos, or what was kind of your approach to doing, I guess, first of all, market research, and then afterwards kind of presenting your product?
Right. So I think market research you should be doing at least a little, because at times you do feel that there is some problem, but that is not really a problem. That is one. Second is there are some products already available in market. So you also have to think about that, which you don't know. So I think doing a market research is always a good step to do. Even before we started PureList, we did a survey. We talked to almost 200 people online and offline, so which helped us give the conviction and understand that what is the space that we are going into. So market research should be there. Second, I think while talking to VCs, yes, you have to make a pitch deck or a memo or a presentation where you are explaining your product roadmap, because that helped them understand your product, understand the space, understand you as a person, how you want to build the product. So that is always a must have. So yeah, I think I have answered.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for your time today. I think, yeah, I've learned a lot. I hope everybody who attended has learned a lot. And yeah, it was great having you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I had a great time. And yeah, all the best to all the DevRev team.
Thank you, and best of luck to you and your team as well. And to everyone who's attended, thank you so much for coming in today. It was great having y'all on. To everybody who asked questions, thanks for being here and asking your questions. And yeah, so for anybody who's in our circle or even not in our circle, if you attended today, you'll have access to our beta. I'll start looking at emails after this and start sending out invites. So yeah, thank you all so much for attending. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Have a good day.
You too.
See you.
See ya.
All right.